Okay, let's go straight in with New Avengers 54 by Bendis and Tan, and I feel sorry for Marvel because the death of Wacko Jacko has overshadowed the media storm that was being generated over what is surely the most important single issue that the industry has produced in the last 25 years. For the millions of fans out there who have waited anxiously for months to find out who the new Sorcerer Supreme was going to be, the wait is over. But many of you have already guessed this character's identity because of the network's coverage of worldwide celebrations. Here's a clip from CNN today.
Hello, I am Brother Voodoo, and I thank you all for your support in making me the new Sorcerer Supreme.
No, BV, thank you. Some of you may well question this choice by Marvel, but trust me when I say that all your doubts will wash away the moment you see Voodoo smack Dormammu in the face with his stick. Thwack! My advice is to get this while it is still at cover price, or you'll be staring at eBay through tear-filled eyes in a week's time. Another tie-in to Dark Reign is Amazing Spider-Man 598, which was a very entertaining issue, the majority of which had Norman and Bullseye torturing Spidey and trying to remove his new unstable molecule suit. I'm aware that this material can change shape and repair itself, but I didn't think it would protect Spidey from a direct shot to the face that he took last issue. If any of you watching know a Fantastic Four issue where they get shot, please let me know. This plot point is especially questionable because a uniformed Human Torch ends up with an arrow in his leg this week courtesy of Ken in Dark Wolverine 75. 4 out of 7 Osborn Avengers now have their own title, and Marvel need to be careful that they don't spread themselves too thin. Though this issue is decent enough and shows more bickering within the team, the only problem is that I do not see a future for this character after this event, but as long as he retains the Wolverine persona, he remains interesting. Because the original Wolvie was absent from this title, I picked up First Class number 16, and I couldn't really work out who this comic was aimed at. Even as a kid, I wouldn't have read this cutesy approach, and can only presume this is for adolescent girls or young homosexuals. No offence to my female or gay followers there. Miss Marvel issue 40 guest stars Spidey, Wolverine and Deadpool in an attempt to boost sales, but they could really do this by dealing with the inconsistent art and weak writing. Miss Marvel has been well developed in Thunderbolts and Dark Avengers, but none of this is reflected in the 6 or 7 pages she actually appears in of her own title. But then again, Superman doesn't appear in his title at all. Despite some continuity issues, I'm quite impressed that most of the Marvel titles have joined in with the Dark Reign event, and it's made me look at some titles that I wouldn't normally bother with. 3 titles I would recommend looking at for their art and apparent decent story are Iron Man, Thor and Nick Fury. Invincible Iron Man 14 continues the World's Most Wanted arc and comes with 2 great covers. The combination of the art and Matt Fraction's writing has made me consider continuing with this series and picking up some back issues, which is strange for me as I've never liked Iron Man as a character. I enjoyed the movie and the Ultimate version, but always thought it was a bit of an arsehole, but maybe that's the point. Thor 602 continues to resolve the events of 600, which was a very strong standalone issue, but even though Straczynski and the artist I won't even try to pronounce have the makings of a classic run, for me Walt Simonson's run will always be definitive, so it would take something really special for Thor to go back onto my pull list. It's a very similar situation with Secret Warriors number 5, which continues Nick Fury's battle with Hydra and Hammer. This title may become required reading when Dark Reign draws to a close with Nick as a pivotal player, but to me has always been a supporting character who doesn't really evolve. If you're a Nick Fury fan and haven't read it, I do highly suggest trying to pick up Nick Fury vs S.H.I.E.L.D. This may be hard to track down because as far as I know it was only released as a trade once in '88, but well worth the search. I know some people have criticised the art, but I think it's pretty stable and you shouldn't really compare something drawn 20 years ago with today's level. And you don't really need to worry about it with a story this strong. A tense, mature spy thriller, 5 stars from me. One title with no reference to Dark Reign is Scar, Son of Hulk number 12, which concludes the first confrontation between Scar and Hulk. But this seems to be more like a preview to a larger clash once Hulk gets his memory back. And Greg Pak, the writer, is just kind of setting up some pieces here in place before Hulk issue 600. This character has the same flaw as the Ken in Wolverine, and his longevity is questionable, but something does keep drawing me back to it. new Marvel Limited series is Raymond Feist Rift War, which is a sequel to The Magician's Apprentice, but I didn't read that and I'm not going to read this. I guess it's some kind of Harry Potter meets Lord of the Rings bollocks, and if that's your cup of tea, knock yourself out. A brief look also at Avengers Invaders number 12, simply because of the cover. Unless you have a particular interest in these characters, you could give this series a miss. Not bad, just inconsequential, apart from Toro returning from the dead, but he'll probably kill himself once he finds that his wife's been sleeping with his old partner. On to the Mutants, and X-Force 16 concludes the Messiah War storyline, which was a bit of a letdown because it also felt unnecessary. And I resented having to buy cable to get the full story, which could easily have been condensed down to a separate 3 or 4 issue mini. Overall, the series is great and I have no complaints, other than that the art is very dark and sometimes difficult to make out. Uncanny 512 is a standalone issue with the team dealing with the return of Psylocke and Beast Science Gang going back in time. Overall a good interlude before Dark X-Men begins. Matt Fraction also writes X-Men Utopia number 1, and I was glad when I saw Mark Silvestri listed as the artist, and thought he was just doing the cover like on Iron Man. However, the art style shifts slightly throughout the issue because he has pencil assists, whatever the hell they are, from 4 different artists and 9 inkers. Personally, I'll draw any fucking comic you like if you give me over a dozen staff. Anyway, I'll leave it there because I want to stay in a good mood. As you may have noticed, all the reviews this week were from Marvel books, but that was merely as part of the celebration of Brother Voodoo. I've got a street party to go to personally tonight. What are you doing in your area?